The A and B lines of force pass through your body at 90 degrees to each other. The G lines of infinite light centers your consciousness and separates you from all other people with a boundary of skin. As these positive and negative lines of energy pass through your body, they activate every atom and cell of your physical makeup. If the approach of these lines to this planet from out of space is interrupted by one of the other planets, as they are, then you individually are affected by the influence from the other planets. Our scientists say the moon causes tides, yet they contend that the moon has no effect on crops, people, or other conditions, that these beliefs are only superstition. The human body is over 2/3 water. It is superstition to assume that if the influence of the moon moves thousands of millions of tons of water in the oceans, that the 100 pounds or so of water in a person is not also affected. Everything has some effect on everything else in the universe. As you move throughout the day in an upright position, you are moving in and out of many lines of force. All of them are charged with influences not only of other planets but from other people, various metallic objects, electronic devices, and atmospheric conditions. You feel these influences, and you may wonder how the day or year went so fast. At another time, the hours may drag. These time changes are the results of some influence acting upon you. If you work hard or run, you become heated and tired. This is the result of an increase in the number of charged lines of force you have interrupted. Through various attitudes caused by turning, bending, and motions of the limbs, heat is generated in the body because of constant changes of the angle of attack from the lines of force. When you sit down to rest for a few minutes, this permits the body to absorb the energy from the A and B lines of force, issuing forth from the same unchanging direction. Then the structure of the body cools off because it reaches balance. This idling condition of the body motor is brought about by the fact that each atom is receiving steady motion by the same lines of force. When you sleep at night, the body becomes charged in balanced, rhythmic interchange. There has been much said of one sleeping with the head to the north or east or in a particular direction. This is not a fixed law. It varies with each individual. Each person should try the various directions. With some people, it would require that they vary direction occasionally. It is more important to sleep away from metallic objects. Coil springs are especially detrimental to complete rest. Metallic conductors set up vortices that cause a circular motion within the straight lines of force. This is a parallelism to body activity. So instead of resting, your body is working even while you sleep. The essence of life is the same in all densities or dimensions. Life is manifested from the A and B lines of light force by the infinite G lines of light. Life is only given form in the first density by the principle of the wheel of life. All vegetation, all substance, which forms such as rocks, fluids, and planets, maintains form through various time, stages, or cycles. Each form of life in the first density contributes substance to every other form of life on all material or negative levels. All densities of life contribute to the progression of every form of life in densities beneath them. All forms of substance are alive in repetitive patterns for their particular species. Thus substance, through life, repeats its cycles from dust to dust. Life is the carrier of progression in its eternal and endless spiral. Now, this is from the book. I had to take a picture of this to show you these little symbols. Thus the stages are positive, or negative, or both, when they are in balance. The spiral of life, also called caduceus, is symbolized by two serpents. The negative, receptive, or female snake-looking thing here is only given desire by its opposite. The positive, projective, or male counterpart, and vice versa. These symbols are not zigzag in form, they are spiral. They are centered and separated by the staff of life. Should be a picture, I should have a picture there, the caduceus. But I forgot to take that picture, sorry about that. The first density on Earth, consisting mainly of vegetation, is of both polarities. The dividing line is the surface of the Earth. The positive projective part of the plant is attracted into the dark negative soil to provide minerals and moisture, so the receptive female portion above the surface may bloom in her fullness. This is the reason why a water witcher's twig taken from a living plant can indicate water. It is actually a living instrument. Like magnets, when they are cut, the positive end remains in the same direction. Therefore, they are held upside down in order to function. As all things beneath the surface of the soil are of negative polarity, and since survival is the strongest desire, the twig wants to assume its natural polarity position and is attracted, positive end but first, to the water of life. For the same reason, when you spend long periods of time in the positive sun, you require more water, which is negative, to quench your thirst, which is a result of unbalanced light force. Every cell in the vegetation is life, maintaining a still greater life in form. As an animal eats the first density, stationary life form, vegetation, it gives to it motion. The substance confined to the place where the seed dropped can now move around, as it has been assimilated by and raised to the second density, life and motion. The same progression of substances takes place when you eat the flesh of an animal. Human beings, both animal and spirit, are in the third density, life, motion, and consciousness. You, as part of the eternal pattern of life in form, give to the animal substance the ability to express and recognize the spirit. Although all forms of life progress within their own densities, much confusion has been started by the theorists who try to tie the densities together. Darwin tried to show the evolution of man from the apes. There is no missing link except breeding. As our solar system has progressed through space, it crossed on August the 20th, 1953, from the third density to the fourth density. Our planet has emerged from the frequency of the third density. Everything on this planet must now begin to conform to this higher frequency pattern. We are on the verge of witnessing a cyclic planetary housekeeping. All things in this solar system are going to be brought into balance. The space people of the Adamic race, serving as agents of God, have through the centuries followed a pattern of cycles in bringing their qualified teachers to the people of Earth. Approximately every 2100 years, the spacecraft of the space people have landed one of their divine mothers on Earth to give birth to a true son of God. As far as the records go, they have all been virgin mothers. These cycles are determined by the Adamic people according to cosmic planetary time. A minor cycle is approximately 2100 years, or 1/12 of a major cycle. A major cycle is about 26,000 years, or a complete cycle of the precession of the equinox. These cycles vary in time either way, plus or minus, according to nutation. During the last major cycle, the space people landed 12 teachers. The teacher called Jesus was the 12th and last of the sons of God in the past major cycle. The policy is always to return the last teacher of each major cycle to begin the next cycle. The importance of today is emphasized by the fact that we are not only on the pinnacle of a minor cycle, but are also amidst a major and master cycle at the same time. This brings about a balancing of the planetary forces that the space people call the Father's house cleaning among his planets. However, in the Bible, it is called the time of the great earthquake. Noah walked with God because he was one of the space people who came to the earth in the Ark of Noah. In the Bible, Noah is confused with Noah. Noah was a man, and Noah was the Ark of Noah. It was in the Ark of Noah that the animals were brought to earth. The space people landed the various animals that could survive in the second density germination temperature. Of course, there was a flood during the time of the Ark of Noah. The Bible is correct when it said all the water was in the firmament in the first density. That was why the vegetation was so thick in the first density. The moisture would condense and water the vegetation at night and rise as fog in the daytime. When the earth flipped on its poles in the Ark of Noah, the rotational speed changed, and the new temperature of the earth being less, the waters condensed and fell from the atmosphere and flooded the land. The Bible says the waters were 15 cubits deep, about 27 feet, in Genesis 7:20. So, the story in the Bible of the ark and its animal cargo is a badly twisted version of a man in a boat. The size of the biblical ark is given as 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. About 525 feet by 88 feet wide by 53 feet high. Imagine caging a pair of each kind of living thing in an area that large. And don't forget they needed sufficient food carried to feed them for 40 days. Then the story gets further off. They confused the accurate ancient records with another ark. This was when the Bible story puts Noah's sons in the same boat. The animals were landed in the Ark of Noah between the first and second densities. 312,000 years later, Ham, Shem, and Japheth were landed on earth between the second and third densities in the Ark of Spey. Noah's sons were not individuals either. The race of Ham were the black people, the race of Shem were white people, and the race of Japheth were the yellow people. The various tribes that descended from these three original colors of people were thus colonized on earth by the space people is listed in Genesis chapter 10. Each race is pure in its own color, and the universal law reads each seed after its own kind. In all of the creations on the earth, each flower, tree, animal, and all of nature follows this law, except humans, who were given the right to choose. Humans were given the intelligence to raise themselves, yet humans are the only creatures that violate this law.